Y'all, it's Tony Playboy.
Let's get into NFL free agency. It's on everybody's mind. It's literally all we can think about in sports news. All right, first and foremost, what were some big moves that you feel like need to be highlighted?
First and foremost, I think if we're talking about big moves, what has happened in New England has been the talk of the town the past few days. A team that normally is pretty conservative in general in all assets of how they run their team was very aggressive in free agent signings. They doled out, I think, over $225 million in contracts over the past 3 days. And so that is first and foremost the kind of biggest thing that sticks out to me about free agency thus far.
Okay. The biggest thing that stuck out to me was the Bucks making all the cap moves work and getting everybody paid, and so far bringing everybody back. There are a couple stragglers, AB, Sue, and I want to say like Fournette. Those are the stragglers really left over. But besides that, they brought back the team in near completion, and it looks like they are ready to run it back all over again. And I was surprised because we thought somebody would have to get let go to make that work.
We'll still see if anybody lets let go in the situation. I think they'll make a push to re-sign Sue. I heard an interesting tidbit about that, which was that Sue is actually negotiating his contract himself for the first time and does not have an agent. So it'll be interesting to see at this point in his career if he pushes for more money or pushes to give the team a discount to run it back.
Okay, that is not something that I knew. All right, let's move on to something more concrete. The most impressive move in free agency, whether it's a whole team making a set of moves or an individual move made by a team that just changes everything.
So I'm going to very much agree with you on your first pick. It's going to be the Bucks. And not just that the Bucks are able to keep so many players, but how they were able to construct the cap on how they did that. So, for example, keeping the linebackers, Barrett and then Levante Davis, they're very interesting deals. They look like they're a lot of money, but after 2 years, the team can get out of those deals and not have cost them very much. I think the Barrett deal has 3 years voidable on the end of it to make the cap number look better. They did some really, really creative cap moves in addition to getting Brady to take less money again, or to restructure his contract to let them fit these other guys under. You know how it all goes. I don't want to get off into the weeds on that, but that is the most impressive kind of thing for me. Most valuable thing is whoever their cap guy is figuring out how to work all these guys back in, because that was always the biggest thing was, okay, they could do it 1 year, but can you put the team back together for a second year to run it back?
Okay, that was big, but it seemed like a lot of teams were doing the same thing that the Bucks were doing cap-wise. Like we saw Taysom Hill get his renegotiated contract that's technically $140 million.
But really nothing.
But yeah, exactly, because it's all voidable at the end. It's just like the cap maneuvers were interesting. The Bucks making them were huge, but it seems like this was a strategy that we saw all around the league as everybody had to deal with the pressure of the falling cap.
So I'll say it's exceptional in this instance because typically when a team wins a Super Bowl, it drives up the price of all of their free agents, especially guys like the Bucks have who have been big name guys in the past. So to be able to not just retain them, but get them back on relatively team-friendly deals is a deviation from the norm for Super Bowl winners who often have to overpay their free agents no matter what position they're at. Think of teams who always have to pay their quarterback after they win a Super Bowl. Think of the
Tom Brady.
Yes, that's exactly number one.
That's just regular Tom Brady shit. That is 20 years of Tom Brady shit.
But then think of the linebackers. You don't think like Shaq Barrett or Levante Davis could have gone somewhere and gotten big money even with the low cap? Absolutely they could have, but they valued being in Tampa Bay so much that they were able to work it out with the team, and that is just super surprising that you don't see that often.
Also, Levante David looked like he got real money. Don't
No.
He got real bread.
Not trying to say they didn't, but it is also team friendly.
Look, he cashed out. I'm just going to say, like, his deal was the most surprising number to me. Obviously, they kept Gronk, but, like, we never thought they were going to lose Gronk.
Well, Gronk's only playing in the NFL for the Bucks. If he's not playing for the Bucks, he might as well go home.
And that's what people are thinking about Antonio Brown as well, but the fact that he has not signed yet is interesting. So for me, the most impressive free agency moves, the Patriots. the Patriots, it's like a full instant rebuild, right? It's just hard to say that this is not expected because, yes, the Patriots did not spend a lot of money, but that's because they did not have a lot of cap to spend in those years because they were constantly at the very top, right? They were constantly having a stacked roster. And this is Bill Belichick again, showing that he plays chess, not checkers. Like last year, he had that radio interview where he was just like, we sold out for a Super Bowl for like 5 straight years. We got to 3 of them. We won 2 of them. We got no money. I paid Cam Newton $1 million. And now, because they had no money last season, they did not try to spread these hits over a long amount of time. They took them hard in 1 year, especially because they had all the opt-outs. Mm-hmm. They had all the money. And you see him rebuilding his team. And I hate the people going like, look, no, I won't say I hate this. But what I will say is, yes, he has failed to draft receiving and tight end talent in recent years, but that was never something that could have been fixed in one season through something like the draft. Instead, he went out and got exactly what he needs. We know what this football team is going to be. Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry over the middle where Cam can eat because that's who Cam Newton is. Like, Cam Newton's most successful receiver he ever had was Greg Olsen.
Absolutely.
Right? That is what we want to see.
I don't disagree at all. Add to that this is kind of a zig while everyone else is zagging. Belichick wants to go back to his early 2010s offense. You're right that this was not something that could be fixed through one draft, but even looking back at last year's draft, the Patriots took 2 tight ends who both can't play. And so I think
what
it's
rounds
also...
did they take those guys? That's the thing. It's not like Bill Belichick was like spending his like first, second round picks on these tight ends that can't play.
No, that's not the arg, but a lot of good teams find bargain talent in the draft. I mean, it's the whole thing with Brady he was a 6th-round draft pick. You see people like Dak's a 4th-rounder. You see the Steelers always finding receivers late in the draft. Like, so it can be done. It's a question of over a long period of time, not just this past year or the past couple years. The Pats have not been good at that particular position. And this is him saying, I have not done well here. Let me go out in free agency and fix this problem. I think it's a good move. It's a smart move. It's very good. He redesigned the entire offense overnight, essentially.
In a way that plays to Cam Newton's strengths. That was my whole thing for the fly route, which is why you want Cam in New England, because New England was very clearly willing to build for Cam's strengths.
I did say, though, that it was all about the Patriots' weapons then, and that if they... their weapons last year were bad, and that's why a part of the reason Cam should leave. But since they've upgraded, of course that changes the landscape in a huge way because we didn't expect New England to spend this kind of money so fast.
All right, boom bust pick here was Nelson Aguilar. Do you believe that he's going to be able to replicate last season's magic?
No, last season was a deviation from the norm of what he looked like in Philadelphia. I expect him to return closer to that than he did in Las Vegas last year.
Okay, I now have this one question for you. Do you think that the fact that he had Derek Carr throwing him the ball instead of Foles/Wentz changes anything? Because I feel pretty confident that you would say that Carr is the best of those 3 quarterbacks.
Sure, but his only problem was not looks in Philly. It was dropping the ball. And he much, much, much improved in actually his drop percentage this past year with the Raiders than he had those years in Philadelphia. And if you talk to any Philly fan or you watch Philly games, he was the guy who was dropping 40-yard bombs.
All right. We always remember the catch that's dropped, not the amazing catch that's made. But let's keep it moving. I want your most underrated free agent move.
So you'll probably disagree with this, but I think it's just the Packers re-signing Aaron Jones. It is a huge move for them to retain that piece of their offense, to be able to run the football. It's huge to be able to maintain that relationship with Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career where he could play the Brett Favre, like, oh, I'm retiring, oh, I'm not kind of thing. But also they lost their other running back in free agency,
Jamal
Williams. And so it's super, super important to get Aaron Jones back. I think it's super under the radar because they're retaining a player, but super, super important for that team and their playoff hopes and how far they go next year.
Man, I felt like they needed to retain Aaron Jones, but is that really they paid the man
We didn't expect it, and
like
no one.
more than the franchise tag paid the man.
The key though is they can spread this out, so which is why it's better. But again, didn't expect these are usually not a big spender of free agency.
And they drafted a running back in the second last year.
Mm-hmm.
And paid him to the point where they lost their center.
I mean, for all the things that Aaron has lost, I'm sure he's fine to keep his running back.
Okay, I'm with you. So originally for this, I thought it was gonna be Ngakoue to the Raiders, but today something changed my mind. Emmanuel Sanders to the Bills,
which was a surprising cut.
It was a surprising cut for New Orleans, but like, wow. The Bills have not made many moves, but the one move that the Bills did make makes the Bills way better than they were last year. And they were already good. We think about like, okay, your weapons on the field, who has the best set of weapons? We always say Mahomes is great, but the weapons around Mahomes are otherworldly, right? Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. It's otherworldly. Think about this. Emmanuel Sanders was a wide receiver 1 last year when he was on the Saints. For the most part, Michael Thomas didn't play.
Or was hurt and not 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. And he did work. Now imagine that you have Stephon Diggs, opposite of Emmanuel Sanders, and you still have little dude used to play for the Cowboys. That nigga's fire.
Oh, he's great. I was upset they let him go.
Yes. He is one of my favorite bargain fantasy picks forever. Just like great PPR, low ceiling guy. I'm sorry. Low floor guy. Perfect. So I thought Emmanuel Sanders was huge. That takes this offense to the next level. Even though the Bills really needed a running back, not another wide receiver, it is great that they have just made their core devastating.
It's fantastic. They'll need it to keep up with the improving Dolphins and the much improved Patriots offense.
I'm with you. Last but not least, worst move that you've seen so far.
Okay. So this is not going to sound right, but it's actually a move the Bengals made. It's not a big move as far as what will happen in that division, but it's a dumb move. They paid Hendrickson like 4 years, $60 million. But the problem with this contract is that they let Carl Lawson go, a similar player at the same position, go for the exact same amount of money to another team. It's like, okay, what are you doing? When you look at the players, Carl Lawson had like 5.5 sacks, but it's top 5 in Pro Football Focus and pressures on the quarterback last season. Was already a player who was in-house. You know how they work with your locker room, etc. And then you go out and you spend the money on Hendrickson, who, yes, had more sacks last year, 13, I want to say, and it looks big on paper, but it's boom or bust with him, and it's a how are you treating your guys kind of thing, that it has a ripple effect on when other people look at coming to your team. You see them let go of somebody like AJ Green, and you see them
no one cares about
not
that.
re-sign Hendrickson, or sign Hendrickson and not re-sign Lawson, etc. And you start to question some of the back and forth between the team and the players there. Like, is it really?
Okay, I don't like the AJ Green example. Did you see recently that Colin Sexton liked a tweet saying that Kevin Love robbed the Cavs of $120 million?
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a similar tweet that gets liked for AJ Green in the last several years of that contract. So that's why I don't feel like the AJ Green thing is a really big comparison. Do we know that Lawson wanted to stay in Cincinnati?
I have not heard anything to the contrary that he didn't. I think it was more about the money that they were offering him.
Okay, I'm with you. For me, the worst move by far is Chicago getting Andy Dalton.
Okay.
I won't go too far into it because we are going to touch it later on, but it is gross. It's like, man, of all the things you could do, you just signed Nick Foles again.
Well, while Nick Foles is still on the team too. So you got to pay them both.
Yes. It's just like, I don't know if makes that big of a difference for us. If it upgrade from Nick Foles.
Yeah, I was listening to actually Colin Cowherd talk about this earlier, and it's not that Foles is, or not Foles, but not that Dalton is bad. He's just the lowest ceiling player they could have gotten for this. They could have gotten other guys who are free agents, even a Marcus Mariota, who's a better fit for what Chicago and Matt Nagy probably need to do than Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is a very low ceiling player for them, which is the upsetting part because their roster is so good.
I honestly wish we would have brought back Mitch Trubisky instead of this.
I knew you would think that.
Uh,
Mitch has a winning record, so I don't think that's a super crazy thing to say, but we'll get into it later.
yeah, that's tough. That's tough. But so far, that's our wrap for NFL free agency. As the next couple of days go on, we'll see a lot more moves. We'll be able to touch back on this one more time.